Today, we gather with heavy hearts. And I would think the heavy hearts might have started even last week since we had back-to-back negative, bad news within our community. And though I'm giving this report today, unfortunately, we have to say almost every day or every day, you have negative news that are trending. And of course, the recent passing of Ashley Janae Robinson, Dr. Serena Fairfax, and Monica Graham has shaken our communities. And this should remind us how fragile life can be. And while their names sit with us, what we may not necessarily remember is their titles as Deputy Mayor of Florida or Dr. Dentist Serena Fairfax, or even content creator. Their parents, their friends, their sisters and brothers, aunts and uncles, nieces and nephews, children are mourning these individuals that some may say gone so soon due to trust, due to sleeping with the enemy, due to not recognizing the enemy. And while their names sit with us and still trending, these are women whose absence leaves in families, workplaces, and circles of friends. And many are asking, why them? And this is where, as a leadership coach, it's important that I bring my expertise and we pause and we reflect where we are today on a global sphere. I started this program when we spoke about the three hidden famines. And we go back to the introduction because today the hidden famines, though is not that of food, though important, what occurred and what's trending is the spiritual famine and emotional famine. And part of that we can say is the famine of truth versus lie, the famine of war versus peace, and the famine of purpose. And when an individual doesn't have peace, doesn't have truth, and doesn't have his or her purpose, it shows up in different ways. And these are indeed the silent hungers that shape the emotions of man. Man meaning man or woman. And that may affect certainly the emotional well-being, where seeds of doubt can creep in and may cause them to respond in a negative way. Where there are empty spiritual tanks, depleted spiritual tanks, or deficits, ideas, concepts can quickly take up residence where it's not filled with truth and peace. And there's a level of erosion that's taken place that results in such sad news. And it's not just sleeping with the enemy. We have frenemies as well. Say her name, Shanquella Robinson. And there's still more updates that are occurring. I recall when this came out and it really gave the world pause because these were childhood friends. So during these times, it's important that indeed we pause, we breathe, and understand what's going on. And I pray that this session, very brief, I pray that this session will allow you to take pause, understand what's going on with you and your loved one, friends or family, individuals you trust explicitly. And my prayer for you is that there's a level of discernment so you can know the difference and act accordingly before it's too late. See, as a holistic and leadership coach, I underscore to my clients the importance of reading and reflecting. And consider this really a pensive reflection, a guide into deeper understanding of the three hidden famines in the land. And really the silent hunger that shape a false narrative that results in emotional and spiritual deficit, and that can impact our well-being, that shows up in the physical as these choices that were made. And before we continue, it's important to highlight, and we do again give the condolences, we do extend our condolences to the family. This is the father of the late Ashley Janae Robinson, indeed. And we pray that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob give them comfort during these very challenging times. At the same time, there's work to be done within the families and within the communities globally. There are no exceptions to what's going on in the world. And hence, we're bringing you some other footage, knowing that when it comes to crime and hate and unalivement and being targeted, it happens in all ethnicities all over the world. This is a picture of Monica Graham's um, husband pleading guilty or not guilty. A picture of Dr. Serena Fairfax's husband, former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, swearing in, it looks like, and I don't see a smile on her face. So that could have been a flashing red light prior. And we had some more sad news. Here is a picture coming from, shout out to Fumi Nation. She recently did a video on this sad passing. A father of 8 in New Orleans unalived his 8 kids. I believe the wife and 1 kid survived, but they were hurt. So there are many people covering it. Here we have a case where, again, monster in the family. Here we have a house in a rural area, picket fence, a dog, and it's titled Monster in the Family. Here we have a Latina friend. We're looking at the deranged friend. And here we have an Asian family that's been reporting the AI finds killer. And here we have a beautiful, beautiful Asian couple ending in tragedy. The point here, the spiritual enemy has no justice. The spiritual enemy has no preference to who you are. If you allow yourself or you allow your friend or partner to be open up to, the point of the matter is the spiritual enemy is not a respecter of race, ethnicity, or person, right? Such tragedies are occurring in every country, every island, every community, every continent. So having said that, it's about getting our spiritual houses in order and taking approach of a level of spiritual astuteness so we can reflect. And with our praying and reflecting, we understand what's going on. Before I move forward, I want to give a shout out to Fumi Desalu Vold community, who is really on the forefront, among many others, that are providing you with a step-by-step update of what's going on with the case of Ashley Janae Robinson, similar she did with Shaquilla Robinson. And now I see that she's on the case of the Louisiana man that unalived his 8 kids. So shout out for her for doing great work. And if you want the step-by-step updates, you can certainly view her site for some up-to-date information. And here she has the latest update in terms of it was the fiance, which she has held that belief, as many of us within our community, for far so long. And today, what we want to do in honor of these beautiful women and those who pass based on wrongdoing, and especially sleeping with the enemies or frenemies, we want to highlight to the family to give them comfort. A, we pray it doesn't happen again, and B, just being mindful, right? And just having your spiritual houses in order. What does that look like? So we know, for those of us who know faith walk, man and woman of faith, if you're an atheist, if you're agnostic, I'm not going to say turn away. This may be your calling. But this is not about a Big Bang. This is about how the earth was created. And in that Genesis story, the first lie that was told, the half-baked lie that was told, some may say that half-baked lie started even in heaven with Satan and the angels. For him to get one third in Revelations, it says that one third of the angels followed him, right? It was also a half-baked lie. So someone have be mindful of you attempting to covet or you have a need for something, and all it would take is someone who senses that you're not strong in your faith and your belief, that foundation. Once they see there's a break in that foundation, they will attempt to dissuade you from the truth. So Genesis 3:6, we know of the story of Eve. She ate the apple. The apple is really the word and whatever Satan was bringing to her attention, and she brought it over to her husband, right? But it was a half-baked idea, half-baked truth. In other words, a lie. If it's not a whole truth and it's partially truth, it's still a lie. And that's the first thing we need to be cognizant of, what individuals are bringing to us. That should really bring a level of that red light twirling, that siren or that alarm. And when we started this journey looking at the wars and rumors of wars, Amos 8:11 and 12 was used because it says there's a famine in the land and it's not a famine of bread. So if it's not a famine of bread, it was referencing a spiritual famine, a lack of word, not having the unadulterated truth of what thus says the Most High and the Creator, man or woman of faith. If you don't have that down pat, you're going to find yourself in a spiritual famine, making wrong choices or making choices when you think you're being led, but you're not led. If you're not reading the good book in terms of what to be expected and what is going to come to the forefront and how to navigate these very precarious times, you're going to find yourself in a bowl of hot wax. So it's important to consume the word. So the lack of feminines is indeed the spiritual, which lends to the emotional. If by chance you haven't seen that episode right here on my platform, please be sure to do so. But today we want to sound the alarm and sound the alarm. There we go. And we consider Matthew 15:19. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. And based on the three cases and the other cases I highlighted, it started with one single seed, negative evil thought that resulted in unaliving, a spouse, a friend. Someone thought that was a good idea, and no one was there to stop that idea, whether it was a collaboration or one man work. You have adulteries for those who were married. Part of the problem was cheating. And then even those who are single, no, you're not free. You have STIs, you have diseases out there. Consider what happened in Houston this spring break. What was reported was more than 40,000 youth that was infected with an STI or HIV. That's a lot. So if you're single and you're not thinking and your spiritual tank is not full and you're being encouraged by your friends and family, you live only one time. Go for it. Without any level of prudence, you can be affected as well. Now, the other scripture we want to highlight is Matthew 10:36, and it says, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. And I think that's what we're seeing again when we consider the conditions of the heart of the spouses that's involved, that we are seeing. That person was a foe, and it didn't just happen like that. Just something happened that the person moved away for better or for worse, whether it was a seed of an idea that then morphed and watered into something worse. And many a times it's not a snap, it's something that has been concocted, that has been planned, whether it's days, weeks, hours, it's still premeditated, as in all the cases we've seen so far. including the father of eight. So you have to ask yourself what happened. And while in most cases individuals have to be brought to justice, us looking on, we can begin to do the work in the event you are dealing with negative thoughts, whether you're a man or woman of faith or not. If you're getting and receiving information that unaliving someone is a good thing, or making someone sick, or disrupting someone's economics and finances, fill in the blank, or taking someone's husband or spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, or proving a point with negative results. That is a process, and that's the first step in the wrong direction. And again, the alarm should go off. Indeed. And part of it also, what I would say is when you're going through a spiritual famine, this is what it looks like. Dry desert land, no way to saturate your spirit man, emotional man. And it's all dryness to the point that it becomes cracked eventually. So here at Grid Holistic Living, important that we look at whole health, whole life, whole you, and we contend at Grid Holistic Living, it does indeed start with the spirit man. The spiritual tank is not full and it's depleted. It impacts the emotional thoughts, what you think, the seeds that's being generated, or the message or information that's being carried by someone that this is a good idea. And if you're not full, man or woman of faith, there's a permanent suffering to be had for individuals better than their creator. So, a way to simply put, avoid the predators without belaboring the point, you certainly want to exercise spiritual discernment if you're a man or woman of faith. And you want to monitor your inner circle. You want to be intentional of who's in your village, so to speak, and especially for our Generation Z and younger, Generation Y, or even millennials, right? They have a tendency to have a village outside of the immediate family. They consider the extended family, their college family, etc. But these are individuals you're now getting to know. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, family is considered a lifetime, right? Who you've known all your life. And you may not be happy with every single person that's considered your family, but they are your family for a reason, right? Bringing in new individuals as part of your village, you have to practice discernment because it takes a lifetime to know someone, right? And if you're bringing in other people just based on counting and the number as opposed to value, you could also find yourself with some deep challenges. And we can clearly illustrate that by the example of the late Shaquilla Robinson. You have to be able to pick up when people are changing, their attitudes are changing, the frequency of calls, the comments that they're making. You need to be mindful. Do not bury your head. And you need to speak up and share with this village. If you notice some changes, some habits that's happening, whether it's directed towards you or someone else, it will be helpful for you to speak up within your village. And if you don't want to do one-on-one, and that's the way we're called to do with someone of wisdom, whether it's a parent, an elder, or someone within your village you respect, you want to bring this information to the light because what's in the dark, individuals think they're going to get away with it. If you put a spotlight on it, that's one way of possibly preventing something worse from happening, right? And individuals will continue to push forward if they're really persistent, but it will certainly minimize the challenges that could happen if left untouched. And then you never say never. That is apparent. The only person you can really bet on is you on yourself because you know what you're doing. And if you know what you're doing and you're a man and woman of faith, but your spirit man verbally, the hearer of the word, you're not executing what you're called to do as a man and woman of faith, that should give you pause, the good news that there's still life. And we want you to remain in prayer. For those of you who love fasting, I always use Daniel as a great example of when in a particular precarious position, what he and his other brothers did in Babylon, right? And they found favor as well. So it's important that we indeed keep prayed up. And continue your faith walk if by chance you're on your faith walk. If you're not, and you want to know what that source look like, we do have an opportunity for you to take advantage of a free 30-minute one-on-one virtually wherever you are in the world, where you can get involved more in the word, or simply go to a local prayer community in your zip code, in your village, in your community, in your city that can help begin to pave the way. But stay tuned right here at Grid Holistic Living. Again, we want to send out our condolences to the families, the beautiful individuals that were unalived. Unfortunately, they are not the first and they may not be the last. We are told we're living in precarious times. As a result, we expect to see more and more. The goal is to ensure that we protect ourselves, right? Understanding that we do our part so that we have that hedge of protection as we move forward. And we want to, for our younger brothers and sisters, we need to have the elders within our community, like myself, like Fumi Nation, drilling down and reinforcing the importance of having solid, good friendships, boys and girls, men and women, young adults within your age group, where you can really build that village and community. That's something that your generation desire. But it is happening in all age groups. So it's indeed a global famine, a spiritual, emotional global famine where wrong choices are being made, wrong decisions being made, predators are lurking on the World Wide Web, and they would take hours, days, weeks, months, and years if they have to make a move. And you have to be mindful. You have to give pause to new individuals you meet as well. And while it's not about freaking out when you meet a new person, but you have to practice discernment. Signals are sent based on what a person say, what they joke about, their social media following, the whole 9 yards. And many other ways you can pick up in person and online the real identity of a person. If your head is not buried, if you're being cognizant and being intentional of being vigilant, because we're called to indeed be vigilant, prayerful, sober, minded indeed. And that concludes this component of a famine in the land, understanding it's with great sadness. Again, we bring such information to you. Here I am with a wellness coaching session that's corporate driven as well, because we have things occurring in corporate life. So if you're interested in virtual corporate meetings, getting your employees motivated, etc., we also do wellness coaching as a group from a corporate perspective. Individual holistic coaching is also available right here on Grid Holistic Living. And if by chance you have not visited our site, consider becoming a member. The link to Grid Holistic Living is in the description box. Thank you so much for making us a part of your journey, your spiritual journey. And here at Grid Holistic Living, indeed we say whole health, whole life, whole you.